We've started a new group called You Can't Have Our Children. I want to talk to parents. I want to talk to people that may not be parents. You might have a niece or a nephew. We're dealing with moral clarity. We want to develop our youth today to have a moral compass to understand what's right and what's wrong. You might be one of those sympathizers that say, well, it's okay for homosexuals to marry each other. But let me tell you what happens. If you agree in with this propaganda, you're going to be part of opening this Pandora's box. Every state that has endorsed or legalized same-sex marriage, they have now inundated the schools with a curriculum that teaches our children that it's okay to experiment and that they should experiment with same-sex relationships. I said it in a previous video segment that we did, that if your child came in and said that they wanted to murder people, you would work at helping your child. Now, we don't need to open a box where children are being taught that what's wrong is right. And I don't care if people say it's okay. Wrong is wrong. And we need to live in a world of absolutes. You know, if you were to marry a man and, you know, later on to find out he's not a man, you wouldn't be too happy about that. And so what we're doing at Shekinah Ranch, we're teaching youth standards, core values, and we're trying to help parents understand why not to buy into this propaganda. Every homosexual relationship that I have ever known of, and I know this is going to create some controversy, it's not controversial. Everyone I've known of, there's violence in those relationships. It's unclean. Some of the things, there's sexual habits and appetites. And the thing about it is, I agree too. If they want to do that, they can do that. But why is this thing pushing its way into our society? Things that we do not want and things that we do not accept. We have a moral compass. When you violate that moral compass, you have a horrible feeling of guilt in that is wrong on the inside of you. There are people that abort babies. They feel horrible about that for years to come. Some of them end up with psychological problems, emotional problems, and even emotional breakdowns. Then we'll talk about the disease. Every nation, every culture that promotes homosexuality, AIDS, and the AIDS problems are growing in those countries. Parents, think about your children. We're not talking about preventing the rights for people to be perverted. We're talking about upholding standards that guarantee that our children are not propagandized, that they're not have this perversion pushed down their throat as part of education. You know, in schools, they said we wanted to take Bibles out of schools. How now can you say that it's okay for children to be taught in schools that to have sex with the same sex is okay? That's not part of education. Education is math, reading, science, and that type of thing. That has no place in the school system. And I'm not going to allow myself to be bullied by an agenda that says that the church needs to be pushed inside of the church walls and that we're not going to stand up and declare a standard of morality. And this is not necessarily just for church. It's for culture. Moral clarity. That's the right thing to do. We're not saying Christianity, which I am a Christian, and Christianity will thrive in the midst of whatever environment we have. Christianity will thrive because it's the power of God, and God's power cannot be silenced by the ignorance of man. but we're talking about the safety of our children. We're not going to stand by and have our children molested by pedophiles and to be taught wrong standards. The standard of a mother and a father is one of the purest standards that you can have. You show me one person that did not come through the portal of natural birth or the process of being birthed by a male sperm. It takes a man and a woman to have a baby. You know, we will never see a man have a baby. It just won't happen. I don't care how many men get a sex change. That person is a man, and that person will never conceive a child and birth a child. That tells you right there. Now, take your time and do the research. These states that are legalizing same-sex relationships, go beyond that. Look at what's happening in the school system and the curriculums that's being rolled out, and how children are being taught the wrong things to accept against creation. Well, it's your choice. It's what you expose your children to. It's what you want to pay your taxes for. But education should remain pure. And I would expect all the people that believe in education, education should be teaching and training our youth and our young adults how to be proficient in the sciences and in math and in reading skills. Well, what is teaching perversion? What role? That doesn't have a role to play in public or private education. Let's not compare apples with apples. And at the end of the day, we want to protect America's youth.